The IVF sector regulation is officially on the agenda for our nation's health ministers after Monash IVF admitted to yet another embryo transfer error just 2 months after the first mix-up was revealed. The fertility clinic will immediately step up safeguards for patients amid the bungle, as the federal government says it will monitor the progress of an internal investigation. Health Minister Mark Butler will also bring up the issue with his state counterparts at a meeting this week. For their take, let's bring in Housing Minister Clare O'Neil and National Senate Leader Bridget McKenzie. Good morning to you. Clare, can Australians trust our IVF sector?
Oh, Nat, this is absolutely every parent's worst nightmare. Families going through IVF have got enough to worry about and they've been through enough, and then to confront these sort of issues in the sector and have to be worrying about the integrity of it, I just can't tell you. Like, my heart goes out to these families who are affected. It's just absolutely awful.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got a really big job to do here to make sure that this sector gets, you know, those proper integrity concerns dealt with. And yeah, we're you know, obviously the Commonwealth's onto the job here. The state government, as the main regulator, is also investigating this particular incident and the clinic.
And that's good that's happening. But Bridget, apparently embryologists are not registered. Is that something we should look at?
Absolutely, we should be looking at everything. My heart goes out not just to the parents in this situation, but the child. I hope they're born into a loving family and know that they're wanted. I think it's good that the Health Minister's putting this on the Ministerial Council meeting, but I would urge political action to protect not just parents but future children in the IVF industry.
Yeah, good point.
It's heartbreaking.
I know, it's a very emotional issue and it brings up a lot for a lot of people sitting out there in this country this morning. So Mark Butler says we are investigating it. Moving on, the Prime Minister has conceded that building a house in Australia has become too hard and is promising to cut federal regulations and red tape to help, calling on state governments to do the same. Clare, this is your portfolio. You've got this now. How are you going to get the states on board? We need streamlined regulations. We've been saying that for, years now, and also unlocking land. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Well, we've got an absolutely massive agenda for this in this term, Nat. We've got a 40-year-old housing crisis in our country, in part because really over that entire period we have not been building enough homes for Australians. And if we're going to fix that problem, we've got to get into this ridiculous thicket of regulation that's built up over Commonwealth, state and local government. Now, you asked about how we're going to get the states on board. The fantastic news here is that the states already are on board. And I really want to credit the work of state governments around the country who have already started to make some pretty bold moves here. My message to the states and to all political leaders around the country is that we've got to double down here. We've got a generation of young people who are absolutely crying out for change in the housing market, and our government is going to be leading that work over the coming 3 years.
Now, that's good because you've got a big target that you guys have set, so we want to make it, don't we? Bridget, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, Clare knows there's no silver bullet. This is an issue of supply and demand. We've been trying to harmonise the trucking industry regulations with state governments for a quarter of a century and we're still not there. So I wish Clare all the best with it. There's two things Clare could do as a federal government straight away to address the demand side and the supply side. Cut immigration so Australians aren't competing with this soaring demand caused by the increase in immigration over recent years, and the skill sets that we have on the ground for construction companies to be able to use. We know we're 30,000 Sparkies short, and yet we've got the ACTU and the unions vetting the skilled migration list, so we can't bring in the skill sets we need. And in terms of unlocking blocks, Nat, you're dead right. We can't get power, sewerage, telecoms, telecommunication services to these blocks to actually get them on the market, and that's why the Coalition put an enabling infrastructure program up at the last election to actually help local councils get that infrastructure in so you can actually get the blocks on the market. So we need a whole raft of issues to get this problem fixed, not just fixing the planning laws.
Yeah, look, there's a lot there. But Clare, is that true? Are the unions vetting the immigration list so you can't bring in tradies? We are so many tradies short.
No, No, that's not. No, it's not. It's not true. And I hear a bit of politicking there for Bridget, and I just say respectfully, I just think we need to move on from that.
Well, Claire,
we've got a really clear
get
mandate here
Sparkies?
to do something. We've got a really clear mandate to do something really big here.
So that's wrong,
on
Claire.
housing and on a few issues.
The unions
on a
aren't
few issues
standing
confronting
over
our country.
the lists. And
Yes, it is wrong.
Can you bring in
Yes,
an
it is
electrician,
wrong.
Claire? Can we bring in an electrician? Is that a shortage, a skill shortage on the list, on the migration list?
Yes, it is, Bridget. Please educate yourself on how the migration system works. Yes, it is on the list. So we've got some really serious issues. Bridget's mentioned skills. Yes, that's an issue. What I would just say is on this issue of housing, we've got to put politics to the side a little bit here. We've got a housing shortage that's been building for a generation, and we've got to see both parties working together to try to get some action on this. Now, we didn't quite get that last term, where the opposition stood in the path of our government trying to build more homes. Let's see if this term we can get a bit more of a fresh perspective and try to work together as a team to get this issue dealt with for that next generation
Bridget
coming up.
seems friendly. You sound like you're ready to work with them, don't you, Bridget? look, she's smiling. We'll see where we get.
I want to get
in
the
this
houses
term.
built.
Yep.
I don't want Australians competing.
Claire, look, hold her to that. She's very friendly today. You hold her to that, and we're going to check those numbers too. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Here's Chevo.